And so former FTX founder, the disgraced Sam Bankman-Fried, arrived in court yesterday. Let's roll some video of that.
Sam, how you going to plead this morning? Come on, guys, today. Take the hold. You're going to have to fall. I got to get in. I got to get in. Guys, that's it.
Well, he had the courtesy of wearing a jacket, Ryan.
He did wear a jacket and a backpack.
I'm doing Sagar's work today.
I love the news cliche of disgraced, though. It goes into every piece of copy. It just becomes part of your name.
Disgraced Intercept DC bureau chief.
Disgraced Intercept DC bureau chief. One day, I will get there. If you live long enough in this business, you wind up the disgraced.
Someone will call you disgraced.
Absolutely, can't wait for that.
So, what stands out to you from the video and from SBF's decision here to plead not guilty?
Backpack is classic. You know, he's keeping it real.
Yeah.
So he kept it real by
two strapping.
Yeah, two straps. Right. Yeah, unafraid. So he goes in there. He pleads not guilty. Two of his underlings, including his former girlfriend, have turned state's evidence and are now going to testify against Bankman-Fried. Caroline Ellison, she may face up to, 5 years or so, which suggests that if she was willing to plead guilty and plea for 5 years, that they have enough evidence that her lawyers were able to persuade her that she was looking at decades if she didn't do that. And so therefore, is Bankman-Fried looking at decades, you think?
I would think so. Absolutely. And there's a big question mark here as to when he's pleading not guilty. I'm curious what you think of this. What does he think? How does he think? If Caroline Ellison has flipped, and all indications point to that's absolutely what's happening, which means, by the way, other people probably will be very eager to cooperate as well. What on earth does he think he can argue against all of that?
Well, maybe he can get some charges knocked down. Maybe there's some type of guilty plea that he can enter, but he can't. You can't just enter a guilty plea right off the bat without any deal being offered. Because what do you have to lose at that point? Yeah, you might as well take it to trial and see if you can.
So you don't think he's going to do this to the bitter end? You think this is part of a give and take, possibly?
It's hard to tell because this guy, there was this reporting that Michael Lewis was at his house while he was out on bail, talking about what they're going to do with the film, and probably doing some more interviews about what was it like getting indicted, and filing for bankruptcy. Because Michael Lewis, author of The Great Short, or The Big Short,
it was great,
and a ton of incredible books. He started out with Liar's Poker. He was a trader back in the 1980s, and then ends up writing about Lehman, which then ends up fueling the financial crisis in 2007, 2008 with the very mortgage-backed securities that he wrote about in Liar's Poker, which is an incredible book. And that's before you get the Moneyball, Blindside. He's just had this run of just incredible both luck and talent. And the luck lands again where he spent the last 6 months or year or whatever with FTX. He was able to see a good story.
Before I don't think he knew it was crumbling.
Right. I don't think he knew it was going to be this good, but he knew it was going to be good. And so for Sam Bankman-Fried to basically have carried on as if nothing has really changed, DMing with reporters, doing Twitter spaces, doing interviews, just hanging out and being a dude.
Incriminating himself.
Incriminating himself constantly.
And that's what I don't understand about this. So the two possibilities here, give and take possibility, this is part of a way to sort of negotiate with law enforcement, or he rides this out to the bitter end. I'm curious as to whether he's actually going to ride this out to the bitter end precisely because of what you just said, the hubris that he has in sort of chatting with reporters, incriminating himself, doing interviews, looking so casual and relaxed about the whole thing. I don't know. I think maybe he thinks he can muddy the waters, hire really good lawyers, and I believe he has one of Ghislaine Maxwell's defense attorneys.
There you go.
And just work his way through the situation because the law has been too loose around crypto, period. That it's not, is the law actually there to say this is a slam dunk for decades in prison? I don't know.
Right. I have heard some experts who will say that, look, there are so few rules around crypto that they're going to have to get him on ticky-tack stuff, like Al Capone style, tax evasion stuff. Like, in other words, there's going to be a ton of wire fraud, which is just...
There's always...
It's the crime that everybody's committing all the time.
Your favorite Real Housewife, Teresa Giudice.
That's right. That was one of the charges that they hit her with, and they hit her with the kind of the pencil whipping your mortgage thing, where you're like, oh yeah, my house, like, which Trump does all the time, which is like, you're going to a bank for a loan. What's your place worth? That house worth $800,000, but you know it's worth like $600,000.
Yeah.
And actually it was her husband doing it. So she got railroaded. He also got railroaded. They deported the guy. It's so ridiculous.
He lives in the Bahamas now, not with FTX, but...
Is he in the Bahamas? I thought he...
Yeah.
He was in Italy for a while.
He was.
And then he went to the Bahamas?
You have not been keeping
I have not. Yeah. The Joe Giudice Chronicles.
Well, can we put C2 up on the screen? Because this adds a wrinkle to the conversation from a sort of 30,000-foot perspective that I found really interesting. This is a column from John Tamney over in Real Clear Markets who wrote, "The Sam Bankman-Fried collapse is a paradoxical sign of progress." Now, Tamney is super libertarian, and he's writing, and he references one of his own columns from June 2021 that said in the headline, "We'll know crypto is for real when its coins start collapsing." John is a writer that I respect because he's totally consistent on his libertarianism. You know, it's not like you're not sort of like just trying to piece together an ideology from what's happening in the news. As you can see from the fact he wrote that in June of 2021, it's been consistent. What do you think about that take? That I've heard it increasingly from crypto quarters as well over the last couple of weeks, and since the FTX stuff started to come into full bloom, is that basically these are the growing pains that suggest crypto is here to stay.
What is here to stay is what I would ask. Like, what is crypto?
What is
it?
Post gold standard? What is money?
Right. Right. Well, if crypto is money, then it's done. Then it's done for, because it's not money, and it's not circulating in the way that money is. If crypto are securities, which that they're now being regulated, or they're now being hinted at being regulated as securities, that means a security as in basically a stock certificate that represents a company. Okay, what does the company make? For a while, you can say, well, it's this blockchain technology that's going to revolutionize everything. And then it reveals actually the blockchain technology isn't actually that great, and nothing that super innovative about it. And it doesn't scale. And so it's very hard to see how that is a product that this stock certificate is related to. So then what is it? And as Bankman-Fried described it, it is somebody's belief that it is worth something. And as long as that belief maintains, then it continues to be worth something. And as long as you can continue to attract people in with advertising and with offers of 9% interest rate, then people's belief can stay in that. But what Bankman-Fried was doing was describing a pyramid scheme, that as long as money keeps coming in, then you can keep putting some money out without actually producing any product. And so I haven't seen anybody in the crypto space argue for what the kind of use case is for it that would justify the valuation of it if it's not money. And it's so far it is not money, and I don't see any evidence that it's going to tip over into money. And so I think that it's a little bit too convenient to say that, well, the collapse and the failure of this project shows that some of it is going to work. That's not enough. Like, you have to show, okay, fine, you're getting rid of the scoundrels, but what is it about the ones that are still there? Like, what fundamentally is it about them that is going to survive a tight money situation and that is producing value to society, which then translates into wealth? Because you have to have some value. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just a pyramid scheme.
And John's argument hinges on that because he compares this specifically. He says history is repeating itself. He compares it to cars. He says in the early parts of the 20th century, thousands of car makers or would-be car makers were matched with capital. Just about every single company created failed. Fast forward to the end of the 20th century, something similar happened with the internet. And to your point, both of those are predicated on a tangible service. Right. Especially cars. I mean, that's even more obvious, but the internet in ways that were maybe I just combined fuzzy and hazy as one word at the time, but are now very clear to us, the tangibility of the internet as a product. So yes, if you're trying to add crypto into that mix, it's easier to see what the difference is. One of these things is not quite like the other.
Right. Pets.com might have been a ridiculous company that wasn't worth $100 billion. But you can imagine a website that sold pet-related products as being a company that like made money.
Yeah, it's a service that people will buy.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that exists now. I don't know if is it Pets.com. What happened to Pets.com? But I don't know. What did you find anything in that argument to cling to?
No,
for
I mean
crypto folks. It just forwards to PetSmart.
Oh,
Pets.com forwards to PetSmart.
It's really funny. Yeah. No, I mean, I think I always enjoy the sort of sincerely argued devil's advocate point to media frenzies because it's not a point anybody's making in the media, but I think in other sectors of the economy, perhaps like social media, for instance, where the bubble might be popping, it's an argument that's sort of well worth considering that maybe this is growing pains that, it's hard to see the forest for the trees when you're in the middle of something. So, but no, when it comes to crypto, again, it's very, very hard to say where all of this goes. Maybe there's a remote possibility that this turns out to be correct. I agree more with you. I
think they kind of tried to make a forest without trees. And it turns out you need both. And you can't have one without the other. Yeah. That would be my take.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.